Zombies were crawling towards the car. The man heard a noise and looked back but couldn't make it out. It was none other than Gabriel and Dr. Harlan, who had escaped from the saviors. Gabriel's optic nerve has been severely affected by the virus and he can only see about a meter. Gabriel urgently needed antibiotics, or else he could suffer permanent damage. They wanted to get back to the hilltop, but unfortunately, the car was out of gas. To make matters worse, they had gotten lost. At that moment, Gabriel seemed to hear a sound, like a bell ringing, but Harlan didn't hear anything. Gabriel then led Harlan in the direction of the sound. They were an odd pair, indeed. One was a priest who believed that God would provide them with direction, a doctor who believes in science. They traversed through the woods until they came upon a house. Inside, the place was covered in dust, clearly uninhabited for a long time. Harlan held his weapon as he opened the bedroom door, only to find that the house's owner had turned into a zombie. Unable to endure the torment of the apocalypse, it seemed he had chosen suicide. Harlan then cleaned up the body and advised Gabriel to lie down and rest.
Gabriel, you have to listen to me. You are fighting a serious infection, and you need to be in there.
Can you read what any of these are?
When Harlan took a look, he could hardly believe his eyes. He then examined the remaining medicine in the cabinet. Inspecting each one carefully, he came to a conclusion.
This man may have just saved your life. These are both antibiotics. I'm not saying a word.
Harlan couldn't believe it either. Was God really guiding him? After taking the antibiotics, Gabriel's fever subsided, but his vision didn't improve. Harlan speculates that if recovery is not possible in the short term, permanent damage could result, leading to blindness. Despite this, Gabriel appeared calm and accepting. Harlan couldn't help but wonder, wouldn't losing one's sight in this apocalyptic world be terrifying? Gabriel expressed his faith that God would lead him forward. Harlan shook his head in disbelief. Gabriel chuckled, saying that even though he couldn't see, he could sense the expression on Harlan's face right now. Wasn't it God who just guided them here? They found the antibiotics they needed in a safe haven. With a slight mishap, Gabriel accidentally knocked over a piggy bank on the shelf. The piggy bank shattered, revealing a bunch of car keys and a map. An unbelievably fortunate discovery. Gabriel remained composed, as if to say that he had known all along God would guide them. Using the map, they pinpointed their current location. There's a museum nearby where the car is parked, so they can only pray that it's still there. Gabriel, due to his vision impairment, was walking behind. At this moment, he faintly sensed a collision sound. Gabriel looked up towards the sound, and a sign swung above, warning of traps and danger in the yard. Gabriel's expression changed as he immediately called out to Harlan to stop, but it was a moment too late. Harlan's foot had already triggered a trap, and his screams echoed through the woods, attracting nearby zombies. Gabriel's heart raced as he hurriedly reached out to save Harlan. Along the way, he also stepped on two traps, but they didn't activate. The zombies were closing in, and fortunately, the traps ensnared two of them. Harlan pulled out his handgun and shot one zombie, but another lunged at him. Harlan fought to steady himself and then shot down the approaching zombie. As Harlan pushed the corpse away, the last zombie pinned him down, knocking the gun from his hand. Gabriel crawled on the ground, trying to reach them. Harlan was in a dire situation. Fortunately, Gabriel finally located the gun that had been knocked away. Gabriel aimed in the general direction, but his hand was trembling due to his impaired sight. In the end, Gabriel closed his eyes and prayed. Harlan breathed a sigh of relief. Having narrowly escaped a close call, he praised Gabriel's marksmanship. His voice choked with emotion. Gabriel grinned, probably attributing his success to divine assistance. After taking a brief rest, they managed to find the car. Truly, it seemed like God was watching over them. However, as they got into the car, the saviors unexpectedly appeared behind them. The gunshot must have drawn their attention. In this post-apocalyptic world, doctors were precious, so Negan had dispatched a team to find Harlan. They were captured by the saviors once again.
Believe it, and you'll see it. He's still leading the way.
I think I do see it.
Harlan met his unfortunate end. Words cannot express it. God would have pointed him in the right direction, but he didn't send him to his death. By nightfall, Gabriel was brought back to the saviors, but to Eugene's place. Presently, Eugene was responsible for manufacturing ammunition and had a team of over a dozen people under him. Seeing Gabriel's return, Eugene felt a pang of anxiety, because he let them go. Fortunately, Gabriel claimed it was Dr. Harlan who released him. Eugene sighed with relief upon hearing this explanation. Due to Gabriel's poor eyesight, he has been brought here to sort shotgun shells and engage in some manual work. Negan went to see Dwight. Dwight acted normal and Negan didn't suspect a thing. After all, he had a gunshot wound in his arm. After a brief exchange, Negan left. The next day, Negan told everyone to coat their weapons with zombie blood, so that if they hurt someone, they would be infected. Simon conveyed Negan's orders to give the Hilltop a lesson today. Don't hit them in the head. Just give some flesh wounds to some of them and turn them into zombies. The aim is not to kill them all, but to make them fearful as usual. Before leaving, Dwight prepared to ride his motorcycle, but Simon found Dwight, inviting him to ride in a car together and stating that it was Negan's demand. Dwight had no choice but to agree. With that, the Savior's convoy set off. Negan was driving alone in a car, with his beloved Lucille in the passenger seat. Meanwhile, at the Hilltop, following Rick's arrival yesterday, everyone seemed to have found their backbone and had renewed confidence for the impending war. Early in the morning, Rick set out in a car to patrol the area since the Saviors could strike at any time. Maggie had arranged sentry posts every 800 meters, and Rick was heading to the farthest one. Maggie and Rosita stood atop the wall. Understanding that Rick needed some time alone due to Carl's death, Maggie seemed to notice something through her binoculars. There was a box there with distinctive markings. Maggie was puzzled. It hadn't been there yesterday. They drive out and pull the box back. Inside, Rosita found a note that read, "If you fill this box with food and records, I am willing to give you the key to the future." The back of the note also provided the coordinates of a meeting place. This left them puzzled, as it clearly wasn't the Savior's doing. The group known for their brute force wouldn't likely set traps like this. Michonne suggested checking it out. Perhaps someone genuinely wanted to help them. Maggie doesn't want to take the risk. She feels that if someone wants to help them and they miss it, they will just miss it. But if someone harms them, the cost would outweigh the benefits. But Michonne wanted to try, because the Hilltop wasn't doing so well, and there wasn't even enough food. What if it actually has some help for them here? Rosita and Enid said they would go with Michonne. Maggie saw that they were determined to go, so she didn't stop them. Meanwhile, the Saviors were on the move. Simon invited Dwight to ride in the car with him because he wanted to win him over. This is because Negan had previously taken Dwight's wife, and Simon didn't believe that Dwight didn't harbor any resentment towards Negan, so Simon is going to convince Dwight to kill Negan together. Dwight remained silent. At the same time, Rick was stationed on the roof of a car, keeping watch. Their plan was to honk the horn if they spotted the Saviors approaching. Suddenly, Rick noticed a vehicle in the distance and used his binoculars to confirm that it was indeed the Saviors' convoy. They had arrived. Rick was about to sound the horn as planned, but he hesitated. Rick looks through his binoculars again and sees Negan driving a car by himself. This was a golden opportunity. Deviating from the plan to sound the horn, Rick got into his car and sped in the direction of the Saviors' convoy. At that moment, the Saviors were maneuvering through a small town. Simon was driving when he caught a glimpse of a car accelerating from a nearby alley. Negan's car was right behind Simon's when suddenly Rick burst out from the alley, crashing his car into Negan's. Negan was taken aback and quickly turned in another direction to escape. Unaware of his assailant, Negan hurriedly fled. Unsure of what had just attacked him, the two cars continued their chase on the road. Negan's followers halted their vehicles. Having been driving ahead and unaware of the situation, only Simon caught sight of the events through the rearview mirror. Instead of pursuing, he positioned the truck to block the road. The rest of Negan's men are just about to go out and look for him when Simon walks out and stops them. Then he talks about how the attacker was only one person and Negan can handle it. To be cautious, he and Dwight decided to check it out. The woman offers to come along, but Simon stops her. Simon continued, suggesting that this might be a ploy to divide their forces, and they couldn't afford to let the enemy succeed. So he stopped the lorry there to make sure no one came to sneak up on them. Simon then told Gary to block off the other side. Once that was done, Simon and Dwight headed in that direction on foot to check it out. Meanwhile, Negan's car had been rammed sideways. Negan was still in a state of confusion. The impact just now made him dizzy. Rick took out his AK and started shooting. Negan felt that death was very close to him. He instantly came to his senses, quickly crawling out of the car. Negan peered out, realizing it was Rick who had attacked. The surrounding zombies were attracted by the sound of gunshots and came this way. Negan rushed into a nearby building, where a sign at the entrance warned, "Do not enter." Rick's focus was solely on Negan. Rick almost got hit by Negan's baseball bat when he entered the house, but Rick's reaction was fast enough. Rick pulled out a pistol and continued firing. They failed to notice the warning on the wall. Entering the basement equals certain death. But they're too busy running and chasing to see that. Negan dashed into a stairwell, revealing a gaping hole in the floor and out of bullets. Negan, seeing this, stopped running.
Rick, you are out of bullet. Come on up.
Negan dodges the killing blow, but almost falls, except as Lucille falls into the hole below. Rick takes his time and takes down his axe, then looks down at Negan with indifference. Rick chopped down the axe. It was unclear whether Negan survived the blow. Rick chases him down to the basement, whistling the Savior's tune.
You still alive?
Negan continued his search in the dark for Lucille.
I'm a goddamn cat.
What Lucille means to Negan remains a mystery. At this moment, Rick continues to mock and says, "Where are your subordinates? By all accounts, they should have arrived by now. They're probably not coming." Rick illuminated the door. It said beware of flesh eaters, which meant it was full of zombies. Negan is still looking for his dear Lucille. He proposed a one-time deal to Rick, a tribute to Rick's formidable son, a gesture of genuine respect. Negan suggested that if Rick could bring the people of the hilltop, the kingdom, and Alexandria's safe zone to submit, things could return to normal. He'd even forgive Rick, requiring only a 25% tribute. "Listen, this is an unprecedented agreement. After all the trouble you've been giving me." Rick also retorted that you did that to the scavengers, so why should I believe your offer?
After what you did to Jadis's people. Scavengers. You killed them. The hell are you talking about? A whole community just wiped out. Is that how you save people? Even though plenty of your people must have seen you go, see? Son of a bitch. Still just me and you. See, it's times like this you realize who your true friends are.
Looking at the things on the ground, Rick chuckled. The baseball bat that Negan cared so much about was found by Rick. Rick wasn't entirely wrong. Negan's henchman Simon was walking leisurely with Dwight, showing no intention of rescuing anyone. Along the way, Simon was persuading Dwight to assist him in becoming the leader of the Saviors. Eventually, they arrived at the crash site. Negan's car had flipped over, and the situation looked grim. They proceeded to the driver's seat but found no trace of Negan. Simon told Dwight that Negan might have escaped, but that didn't mean he was alive. He might be half dead somewhere. They could continue searching, but once they found him, they might still have to follow Negan's orders. Alternatively, they could turn back, taking the remaining people to the hilltop. They take over the Saviors. It'll be a historic moment. After speaking, Simon awaited Dwight's response. Dwight lit a cigarette, pondered for a moment, then flicked the cigarette, setting the car on fire. This gesture signified Dwight's agreement to Simon's invitation. He would do his best to help Simon become the leader. Simon nodded his head in satisfaction, then started back the way he came. Meanwhile, in the basement, Rick is still confronting Negan, lacking light. They couldn't see each other. Rick once again taunted Negan, saying his approach would never last. Negan claims to save the world, but it's just empty words that don't actually save anyone, because you don't have anyone you care about. You just use people to feed you and get you some wives to sleep with. The only thing he cared about was that baseball bat. Yet now, he couldn't even save it. Rick offered Negan a chance to trade and allowed him to say goodbye to the bat.
Don't you touch her! Come and get her.
Rick quickly got up, picked up the bat again, and struck Negan once more.
Get your hands off her. Goddamn psychopath. You're gonna kill us both. As long as it's you first.
Negan, this guy is really willing to die for a baseball bat. When Rick went after him, Negan had disappeared without a trace, once again letting the guy get away. Meanwhile, back with Simon's group, they had rejoined the team.
Where's Negan?
You couldn't find him?
Gone. Just blood. What are we supposed to do now? Now what?
Who are you?
I am Negan!
Damn right you are! Don't matter if the big man ain't here. We're still Negan. We all are!
Simon's strategy of twisting the truth was impressive. He directly told the others that they were all Negan, so they should proceed with Negan's plan and teach the hilltop a lesson. This time, they would wipe out all the people at the hilltop. On a highway, a car was speeding along. Negan slowly woke up. He had just escaped from the house when he was ambushed.
Shut up.